Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, double honors, the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who are teaching this truth with sincerity. And a shout out to your Akims out there in the four quarters that you have proclaimed this truth. Rocket the Yahweh, Rocket the Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash, Rakatum. So I'm in the North State, California, Fuckfornia, has lots of names. Definitely in this border of wickedness, the Edomites, Babylon the Great, and we're just now looking at the Park Fire, which is only 14% contained. So looking at some live footage of this, hey, the Most High is bringing a destroying wind. Now, eventually this place is going to be consumed by nuclear fire. But this is just some of the fires that are going on this summer, as it's only 14% contained, almost 390,000 acres burned. As you're looking at this, other camera views, as I found this on a YouTube channel. Most High is definitely pouring out his judgments upon this place, because this place is very blatant in their disregard for the Most High. Now we know the Edomites are the border of wickedness, anyways, but the two-thirds
prepping, basically getting out ahead of the fire, finding those structures, communities.
The two-thirds are also blatant in their rebellion against the Most High.
Strengthening the roads that they can find possible control points when the fire does get into those areas.
Most High is making his visitations known. Many Edomites have seen what they like to call UFOs, which are the angels visiting this place. And fire is the ultimate judgment from the Most High. That's why this place will eventually be the lake of fire. But this is just what the Park Fire looks like. So this is the 7th largest in the California history, but yet the largest this year. And the Most High is just getting things started. Raging wildfire swells to the 5th largest in state history. Okay, 5th largest, Slovakia. So that's actually a little bit higher. It used to be the 7th, but okay, it's been a few days. Massive fire in Northern California grew again, July 30, to nearly 610 square miles, bigger than the city of Los Angeles, making it the 5th largest fire in the state history. Park Fire was started on 24th of July after man allegedly pushing burning car into Park Ravine. Had destroyed 361 structures by Wednesday morning, 209 of which were single-family homes, according to Incident Commander Billy C., an Assistant Fire Chief from Fresno County Fire Protection District. So, like everything else, though. Butte County Sheriff's Office arrested 2 women in entering Sycamore Road on Chico. Monday, the area was under evacuation order, according to the Sheriff's Office. So these are people that just, that disobeyed order and decided to go back. Hey, they could arrest you for that shit, You're going into restricted areas, And like everything else, though, here's what's going on with the economy as they send more and more funding money to Ukraine. U.S. dumps another $1.7 billion into Ukraine. The very same day, the U.S. national debt reached $35 trillion. People paying for it are low and middle class workers, taxpayers whose fruit of labor is constantly being stolen by the corrupt overlords. aka the 1%. America's national debt reached a new high of $35 trillion this week. Around the same time, U.S. politicians threw another $1.7 billion into Ukraine. Russian ambassador to the U.S. is speaking out against Washington, D.C. gross management of taxpayer funds, which will eventually flush the entire nation down the economic drain, and they're doing it on purpose. They got a proxy. They can just totally bankrupt everything, right? So that way they get everybody to accept the implantable you-know-what. Russian forces down 61 Ukraine regime drones over last 24 hours. Russian Defense Ministry said Thursday that Russian forces targeted Kiev regime forces in several areas, leaving a heavy material loss and number of dead. Russian armed forces destroying 3 launching stations, U.S.-made Patriot missiles, drone center. Oh, no wonder why America doesn't want to really report on this, because it has to do with this so-called beautiful Patriot missile system. You know, the one that defeated the Israeli state against Iraqi missiles in Desert Storm. I don't want you to know that the Soviet Union, the Russians can, they're not even the Soviet Union anymore, but that the Russians can penetrate it, right? So they won't tell you this on the mainstream. Drone control center and train loaded with ammunition and personnel. The ministry said in a statement, adding that Russian forces targeted number of Kiev regime forces sites in 147 regions. Russian air defense systems down U.S.-made missile, 14 U.S.-made HIMARS missiles, and addition to 61 drones. So they can rip through the defenses. But like everything else, though, we have an impending war about to be sparked, especially with that recent assassination, as this goes into. And this is coming from the IRGC chief himself. Resistance front highly resolved to take revenge on Israeli state for the recent crimes. Chief commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says Israeli state's recent crimes in the region provoked more wrath among the resistance fighters to take revenge against the regime. Major General Hossein Salami made the remark in a message on Thursday to commemorate Iranian military advisor, identified as Milad Bidi, who has been named among the victims in recent Israeli aggressions against Lebanon's capital Beirut, that claimed the life of senior commander of the Lebanese resistance movement Hezbollah as well. Bidi was martyred on Tuesday when the struck targeted the building accommodating Hezbollah commander Fuad Shukar. So like everything else, the Israeli state bombed both Beirut and Tehran in the same day. So this is a major escalation, so it's just a matter of time till they do respond. Salami praised the martyred advisor for his great efforts to defend the Islamic Revolution and establishment and safeguard the country's security and peace in the face of the enemy's plots. Bidi's efforts to cooperate with the resistance fighters in the battle against the executioner, criminal occupying Israeli regime will be remembered forever and will inspire the zealous Iranian youth, especially the new IRGC generation, the commander emphasized. So like everything else, though, you know, just continued escalations. There will be a response, so we're just awaiting that response. But like everything else, though, this is just everything leading up to it. Hamas chief assassinated. What happens next? The death of Ismail Haniyeh is a challenge to Iran and other members of the anti-Israeli axis of resistance. Last few days of July were exceptionally hot in Southeast Asia, and not because of the weather, but due to escalated regional control that grows more intense by the day. Following Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to D.C., when he spoke to Congress and met with high-ranking officials, many experts speculated that the Israeli state had received a green light to launch full-scale military action against Hezbollah. July 27, rocket landed on a soccer field in the village of Maljal Shams, located in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, where Druze Arabs live, which are, you know, basically both Syrian and, of course, Palestinians who had fled to Golan Heights years ago. 12 children were killed and 60 others injured. Benjamin Netanyahu returned home early, and a series of official Israeli statements claimed that Hezbollah had launched the rocket, but we all know that they were killed by friendly fire by Israeli defense forces. Hezbollah, however, denied involvement in the attack. Lebanese authorities suggested that the rocket was actually Israeli air defense missile. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign ministry described the incident as a staged drama, aka a false flag. There was indeed sense of events were unfolding as if orchestrated, yet was impossible to confirm who was behind the attack. Well, they're not directly saying that they did it, but they're letting you know that it looks like the workings of a false flag, which is exactly what they wanted. However, the night of July 31st, shocking news broke out. The assassination of Hamas political bureau chief, who had traveled to Tehran to the inauguration of the newly elected president and meeting with Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. By the following day, Hamas officials confirmed the Haniyeh was killed in a treacherous Zionist raid on the residence in Tehran. So again, they struck Tehran and Beirut on the same day, just reiterating yesterday's video. It's escalation for sure. And of course, Babylon the Great, U.S. will certainly defend Israeli state if attacked by Iran in wake of Haniyeh killing. Israeli has the right to defend itself where it wants them. They attack an enemy on the morons in D.C. Assure them we will bear the brunt of the revenge. Talk about incentive for ISR to wage war on literally everyone around them. What self-respecting country would put itself in this position? Only the Israeli state would. But here we go. Here's fucking Terry Lloyd Austin. And there you go. A 2/3 Jake in high position. Just like, you know, what the other videos are saying on the other two channels. You know.
You said that war a wider war in the Middle East is not inevitable. Nevertheless, it is becoming the risk is becoming more acute. If it does break out, what assistance would the United States bring to Israel if there was a wider war?
They're bound
and
forever.
How much does that detract from the work you're trying to do in the Indo-Pacific?
Yeah, so what you heard me say yesterday is that if Israel is attacked, we certainly will help defend Israel. You saw us do that in April. You can expect to see us do that again. But we don't want to see any of that happen. We're going to work hard to make sure that we're doing things to help take the temperature down and address issues.
These escalations are just flaming it.
You said that a wider war in the Middle East is not inevitable. Nevertheless, it is becoming the risk is becoming more acute. If it does break out, what assistance would the United States bring to Israel if there was a wider war, and how much does that detract from the work you're trying to do in the Indo-Pacific?
Yeah, so what you heard me say yesterday is that if Israel is attacked, we certainly will help defend Israel. You saw us do that in April. You can expect to see us do that again. But we don't want to see any of
that's re-looping, so Salakia for that, but that's exactly it right there. And like everything else, though, got this news clip here as well.
This act could not be occurred without the authorization and intelligence support of the U.S. The Islamic Republic of Iran reserves its inherent right to self-defense.
So we see things heating
with
up.
International law to respond decisively to this terrorist and criminal act when it deems necessary and appropriate.
Those are just a few of the many strong words that Iran had for Israel at this emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council. It was a meeting that was called by Iran and supported by Russia, China, and Algeria to address the recent Israeli assassination of Hamas's political chief, Ismail Haniyeh, on Iranian territory. This is something that Russia said completely undermined the possibility of a resolution to the Palestinian conflict through negotiations, and Russia also said that this has sparked the possibility of a larger regional war with Iran.
Russia strongly condemns the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh following a missile strike on his residence in Tehran. This is a serious blow, first of all, to negotiations between Hamas and Israel on the ceasefire in Gaza, in which Ismail Haniyeh was a direct participant.
For its part, Israel laid the blame on the very same country whose territorial integrity it just violated, Iran, claiming that the assassination of Haniyeh was somehow an act of self-defense. On top of that, Tel Aviv accused Tehran of being hell-bent on Israel's destruction and its Lebanese ally Hezbollah of killing children in the Golan Heights.
the State of Israel will not stand idly by. We will continue to defend ourselves and our citizens. While this council perverts its mission prosecuting Israel as we defend our people, the Ayatollahs in Iran are formulating strategies to wipe Israel and the Jewish people from the face of the earth.
The meeting didn't only cover Israel's strike in Iran. In response to the attack on Golan Heights that Hezbollah denies carrying out altogether, Tel Aviv struck Beirut, killing a Hezbollah leader and an Iranian military advisor. Lebanon's representative said that this was a clear violation of international law.
The message is bloody, clear and explicit. The culprit is the government of Israel and its prime minister. The victim is ceasefire resolution.
Of course, Palestine also had the chance to once again appeal to the international community to hold Israel accountable for its actions. Palestine's representative said that Tel Aviv has no red lines, and Israeli politicians feel that they will face no consequences for their actions.
The failure to hold Israel accountable has permitted and enabled these crimes.
Because they will always have a free pass.
Military commanders and settler extremists to escalate their reign of terror against defenseless Palestinian civilians. There is no red line for Israel. No law it will not breach, no norm it will not trample, no act too depraved or barbaric for its occupying army and settler militias.
Once again, the U.S. took up its usual position. Unconditional support for Israel's so-called right to defend itself and laying the blame on Iran for any and all killing associated with the Palestine conflict. But when it comes to Israel, once again, American eyes were closed to any and all wrongdoing on Tel Aviv's part.
As usual, they hold themselves not guilty. Just like they do with Jake. U.S. Security Council members condemn Israelis' assassination of Hamas leader in Iran, So, members of the United Nations Security Council condemn Israeli assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, head of the political bureau of the Palestinian movement in Hamas in Tehran. But like everything else, though, as you can see, though, that, nothing's ever going to happen to the Israeli state until one day recompense does happen. Israeli enemy continues their attacks on southern Lebanon. So they continue their terror attacks. Israeli enemy continued attacks on adjacent towns of southern Lebanon as hostile drones targeted the outskirts of Kafar Kila border town and coincides with opening fire from Matlah's site toward the town. Enemy tank targeted with 2 shells the south of Kanyan city in the eastern area. Meanwhile, Israeli enemy forces shelled Ramya, Ayat al-Shab, and Beirut Lif towns in western areas, southern Lebanon. So, this is an ongoing thing. So, like everything else, though, we're in the time, though, that the Most High, not only making his visitations known, but is bringing it out there in that valley of Yahweh, which is bringing all the nations down, right? Because the day of the Lord Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai is near in the valley. Joel chapter 3, verse 2. I will gather all nations and bring them down to the valley of Yahweh, which is right there, Syria and the region, Lebanon, all those areas. Will plead with them for my people, for my heritage, Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations of part of my land. And that is when they, had pretty much gathered us. They cast lots for my people, given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. And like everything else, the so-called Jewish practitioner, they were the ones responsible for the selling of the Israelites, which is dealing with Amalek. And so like everything else, though, war is coming to them. What have you to do with me, O Tyre, Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? See, the war's right there. Will you render me recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your head? So recompense is coming. And like everything else, though, they're being gathered into that valley, which is eventually going to lead Babylon the Great and the Edomites to their deaths. So, hey, but before that happens, one thing else has to happen first. It has to be mandatory. And of course, we're the only group that really hits on it, and there's more in the longer version of this. So hopefully this has all been edifying. For that I want to say, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rekal Kadash, Wa Abab Babal. Barakatum to Yofelek. Shalom.